The episode begins at a hospital where a woman gives birth to a baby girl. The nurse who delivered was surprised when she saw the baby, and even the father was shocked to see his daughter. The doctor reports back to the parents after a thorough examination and explains that the baby has many irregularities, among which it seems that her lungs are mostly outside her body. She worries that they are unsure how long they can keep her alive. Although she claims this is beyond her, being the foremost scientist in biogenetics, she hopes Dr. Edward Mazursky could develop a way to keep her alive. Edward feels hopeful that he can help his daughter and declares that her name is Nina. Dr. Mazursky managed to build a suit for young Nina that helps her breathe. Although the father is happy to have their daughter alive, Lily, her mother, is unable to accept it and grows distant. Edward confronts her, but Lily claims that this is not living. She worries Nina would soon outgrow her machine, but Edward reassures her that he can build her a new one. Lily claims they made a terrible mistake and should have taken her off the machines back at the hospital, but Edward argues that it's their daughter. Unable to agree, Lily decides to leave home until she gets her thoughts sorted. Growing up, Nina struggles to even take quick walks to the playground. Edward claims that he is working on a new treatment for her, one that will make her no longer have to wear the machine. He claims that although there are risks involved, it is worth the risk so young Nina won't have to lug around an extra 30 pounds of metal to stay alive. He explains that the treatment involves transforming her DNA to help her breathe despite the fluid in her lungs. All of a sudden, the operation goes wrong and Nina suddenly turns green and grows gills. Edward pulls her out and quickly puts her underwater, to which everyone is surprised that she can breathe. When Nina came of age, Edward had to reach out to his connections to have her enrolled in a private school. The principal was pleased to meet Dr. Mazursky, a highly esteemed scientist. She quickly recognizes his work on the rice that he genetically engineered to help feed nations. Edward explains that Nina was born with defects in her lungs. Unable to breathe properly, he tried to infuse her biology with that of the aquatic animals. Although she is no longer in pain, Nina can only breathe underwater, hence why she wears a glass helmet filled with water. Edward states that Nina has been homeschooled since then. Although she can speak 4 different languages and is well versed in Shakespeare and calculus, he thought she might be better off attending school with the other children for socialization purposes. He worries that Nina has only known him throughout her life. The principal accepts Nina into the school and welcomes her to Emberton Prep. She starts school by joining the lacrosse team, but her team quickly makes fun of her and soon goes through school being bullied by everyone calling her a frog. She tries to keep a low profile, but when she thinks someone is being nice to her, she quickly discovers that he puts a frog in her locker. One time, Nina decides to run away from home, leaving only a letter for her father. She claims that she does not belong with the humans and decides to escape through the sewers, leaving behind the glass helmet she has always had to live with. One night, she was feeding on a fish on a rock when someone showed up and took photos of her. She quickly became viral as Star City's sea creature who lived off in their sewers. Although some grow skeptical of the photos as evidence, the government has brought in animal control experts from Metropolis and Bloodhaven to help track it down and capture the said beast. It didn't take long for said experts to fish her out of the water, setting up nets all over the place. As they were pulling her out, her father showed up and tried to get to her. Edward tries to tell the cops to let her go as she is unable to breathe air like normal humans do. When he tries to force his way in, one of the cops shoots him as he is about to tell Nina that she was never a burden and that she was his greatest gift. Nina couldn't do anything but scream underwater as his father lay dead on the ground after he was shot in the chest. Back in the present, Frankenstein arrives in Pokolistan and takes a taxi to the castle, fantasizing about Bride and describing every part of her body. He hopes to win her over by stopping the Commandos from making the big mistake of murdering the princess, who is later revealed to be Flag's lover. Meanwhile, the castle is on high alert, worried that the Commandos will attack. Although there are still no signs of them, the castle guards keep patrolling their borders for the princess's assailants. When one of the guards reports back of no activity, Weasel catches him off guard when he shows up on his scope, to which Bride then breaks his neck. Frankenstein arrives at the castle to witness Bride bashing the guard's head on the windowsill. Nina tries to be the voice of reason and attempts to convince Bride and the others to rethink their actions. She worries that they're killing these people for no reason, but Dr. Phosphorus argues that no one will notice one less human being on the planet. Bride explains that Waller thinks the princess will bring about the end of the world and believes her source is credible. She argues that any risk is worth it to stop that from happening. Bride then uses the computer mainframe to check for a point of entry that isn't swarming with guards. Dr. Phosphorus checks the feeds from the previous days, hoping it will give them another way in. They were surprised to find the princess meeting with another monster aside from them 2 days ago. Suddenly, Frankenstein climbs up the tower they were in, and Bride quickly shoots him in the chest, which makes him fall from a great height. Nina states they need to move, worried that someone must have heard those shots. Bride suggests heading for the wall at the back of the garden where it appears to be the least protected. Bride jumps out of the tower and shoots Frankenstein in the head, not giving him the chance to explain. Finding their point of entry, Dr. Phosphorus takes out the guard and uses his radioactive powers to break through the wall. Meanwhile, Ilana comes out of hiding to do her morning swim despite the captain of the Royal Guard's objections. She claims that she will not cower in fear to hide and lead her people by example. Sergei argues that it is not safe, but Ilana insists that guards are surrounding the perimeter. Although it took a while, the Commandos sneak inside the castle through the hole that Dr. Phosphorus bore through the wall. Weasel gets restless when he sees Ilana up on the cliff that he nearly had them caught when he jumped out to greet her. Nina stops him before the guards see them. Bride asks what happened to him, to which Nina explains that he was just excited to see her. She claims that Ilana played fetch with him for hours, and he quickly grew attached to her. When Dr. Phosphorus wonders if they needed to put him down, they both sternly objected. With guards watching the perimeter, Bride claims that only Nina can finish the job once and for all, to kill the princess underwater while she's swimming in the lake. Nina objects, claiming that she doesn't know how to kill someone, but Bride suggests she stab her with the knife when the princess dives underwater. Nina hesitates, but Dr. Phosphorus reminds her that Waller claims this was the only way to save the world. Having been convinced by the others to carry out the mission, Nina goes underwater with a knife. Flag finally regains consciousness with Waller watching over him. Waller tried to get him to talk about what happened, but he could only utter a few words. From what she could gather from what he said, Waller asks John to meet her at McPherson's. When they break into her house, they find it in a mess and discover what remains of a monster. John quickly recognizes it to be Clayface and claims that he is known to be a shapeshifter. That said, Waller runs upstairs and finds the dead body of the real McPherson. She realizes that Cersei has tricked them into killing the princess. Waller quickly calls Pokolistan, trying to stop the Commandos from carrying out the assassination. Determined, Nina hardens her resolve and swims under Ilana, ready to stab her in the back with the knife. Ilana reminds Weasel of the little girl he befriended before. Unable to stop himself any longer, Weasel jumps into the water, trying to warn Ilana of the assailant. Ilana quickly sees Nina underwater and dodges the attack. Dr. Phosphorus pulls Weasel out of the water, who seems to be drowning. He is furious at him for blowing their cover, to which Weasel bites his arm in retaliation, but Dr. Phosphorus burns his mouth. The guards hear Weasel groaning in pain from the burn. Underwater, Nina drops the knife, which Ilana quickly grabs and stabs her in the chest multiple times. Bride quickly runs to the pool of blood in the pond and is shocked to find Nina is dead. She screams in agony, to which guards quickly surround them with their weapons pointed at them. Sergei yells at them to stop and approaches Bride, with a phone claiming that the call is for her. Waller tells her that they made a mistake and calls off the assassination. Back at the castle, Weasel gets a hero's welcome for saving the princess. Irked, Bride walks out and runs into Ilana. Ilana states that she understood why they did what they did, having been told that they were saving the world. She claims that she doesn't hold it against them as they are only following orders. Ilana states that Cersei tried to frame her out of jealousy and suspects that she must be the one who truly wants to destroy the world. Bride claims that she believes Cersei is telling the truth about her. When Ilana asks what she meant, she explains that she saw Clayface on the tapes that they saw earlier. She deduces that Ilana seduced Flag to get him to her side, but when they captured Cersei, Ilana suggested that they kill her. Despite having been wooed to her charms, Flag refused, so she was forced to send one of her knights to spy on them. Her spy must have then seen McPherson see Waller. Someone she knows would back up Cersei's story. Left with no choice, she gets in touch with Clayface to make it look like she wasn't who she was, so it would discredit McPherson. Ilana denies all accusations, but Bride claims that Cersei was right about her being power-mad, sadistic, narcissistic, and hell-bent on destroying the world. Bride explains that she isn't going to kill her to save the world because she will cause World War III, but because she killed the only friend she had. When Ilana pulls the gun from her drawer, Bride shoots her in the head before she has the chance to fire it. Bride walks away and makes a swift escape with the rest of the team. As they get outside, Bride walks into the sunset with tears rolling down her cheeks, to which Dr. Phosphorus pats her on the back and comforts her. Back at Belle Reve, John tells Bride that he was surprised that all it took was some haughty princess to turn Flag into a moron. He claims that although Waller has a reputation for being a hard ass, she knows how to express gratitude when it's deserved. He states that they saved the day, and because of it, Waller had one of the abandoned wings converted for her team, joining the Commandos under her leadership alongside Dr. Phosphorus and Weasel are Nosferatu, the winged metahuman that resembles a bat, Callus, a revived mummy, King Shark, a giant shark and once a member of the Suicide Squad, and the new and improved GI robot. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.